Disclaimer, we'd like to note before the start of this interview that the opinions about to be expressed by the guest on tonight's Gettin Salty Experience podcast are that of the guest and do not directly or necessarily reflect the views of the host of the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Put the fucking fire out!
You're listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello, Jose Martinez and Paula / Agnes. And away we go. I held that one in for a couple of weeks, Ruffy. You know what I mean? We haven't been live in a couple of weeks, bro.
Clear out the lungs.
We are back. Welcome back to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast. It's the only one that brings the you-know-what to you-know-where, right?
Yeah.
Firehouse Kitchen
Holy
Table.
Shit.
To you.
Stand by.
That guy had to have made a typing error.
Yes, typing error, Mr. Feinberg. I love that.
If that's an error, just
Rev,
I hope.
me.
What is he?
Don't
A fat fingers? Holy
Rev.
Christ!
Can we give that guy a refund? How'd that work? I don't know.
Yeah, I could figure something out.
Holy
We'll
shit!
figure it out. Welcome back, anyway. We missed you guys, man. A whole lot of stuff went on. We had the 9/11.
Oh, we had 9/11.
ceremonies. We had down in the Jersey Shore. I met a lot of guys down there. Had a great time. Took a lot of pictures. Ate a lot of food. Drank a lot of martinis. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. How about you, Ruff? You kill anything?
I was at the where was I, guys? I was at the freak. Where was I?
Oh, freak off.
I was at the freak off.
Oh, the freak.
Oh, you had. Oh,
we were hanging out. At
you
the freak
spoiled the. I was gonna tell you guys we're having a Gettin Salty freak off. If you want to.
I was at
After your baby oil and lotion.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
The old freak
Swing
off.
and a miss.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
A lot of stuff going on last couple.
It's a crazy
Jets
world,
won.
man.
Did the Jets win?
Oh, no,
Yeah,
they're playing tonight.
I was going to wear my Aaron Rodgers jersey tonight, but
Are they playing tonight? Who are they playing
playing
tonight?
right now.
Oh
They're
shit!
playing New England Patriots. They suck.
Uh-huh.
Right. And you know what
New
starts soon?
England sucks? Or
You know what starts soon, right? Why don't you warm up that button, Guns?
No.
Next month it starts.
What is that? Which button do you want? Oh,
You know,
oh,
and
no.
nobody.
no.
Hugo,
No.
here we go.
Next month it starts. It's a different sport that nobody
Nobody
really
cares about hockey.
Oh, damn it!
Come on,
You know, I
Gonzo.
totally forgot about it because nobody cares
the
about
hell,
it, so
bro?
it wasn't on my radar. I'm sorry. It was one of those
He's
things.
tired
You know
today.
what?
He's tired.
I told you I'm tired.
It took him a long time to do his hair.
Nobody cares about
sorry.
hockey. That includes everyone.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was thinking the Yankees.
But next month, right, Ruff?
Yeah. So
Anyway, we have an educational show on tonight, bro.
yes,
Listen
we do.
to these two men because the facts and the education is just dripping out of them.
The plethora of knowledge.
That's how we got so smart.
Yeah.
Captain Murphy.
I'm smart,
I'm
Mikey.
smart.
Not like
We were like sponges. They would just throw the shit down. We would suck it up, bro. That's what would happen.
Who was it? Oh yeah, Paul Meyerberg. Send me an email to sales@gettinsaltyapparel.com, and we'll
Right.
take
All
it.
right, let's play the
Hank
commercials.
better take a back seat there, bro. And knock him out.
Wow.
Take a back seat. Take it easy.
Take it easy.
Take
Look
it
at
easy.
us, baby.
Yeah, all right, let's
Take a couple of commercials quick. Come on, get it on the way.
All right, here we go. We're gonna listen to the new one. They don't have any words, but check it out. It's the drone, the photo kite.
Okay, I got to ask 2 old school guys like Captain and Hank what they think about this new technology when they bring them in here.
Yeah, we will. I like it. Actually, they're helpful, drones.
Yeah?
Yeah. All right. True that. All right, let's listen to New Jersey Fire.
All right.
Here we go.
Established in 1930 and under the current ownership since 1987, the New Jersey Fire Equipment Company handles a complete line of fire department equipment and supplies. Headquartered in Greenbrook, the company operates full 3M Scott service facilities in Ridgefield Park and Toms River, staffed by 10 fully authorized Scott certified technicians with a fleet of 6 fully equipped service vans. All New Jersey Fire technicians and sales representatives are active or retired firefighters, officers or chief officers, career and volunteer. They understand the business and the importance of their work. New Jersey Fire has represented Scott since Earl Scott entered the SCBA business at the end of World War II. Among other leading manufacturers represented by New Jersey Fire are Globe and Firedex Turnout Gear, Mercedes Hose, Task Force Tips and Akron Brass, Hygenol, Firehooks, Arctic Compressors, MSA Carnes Helmets, ChemGuard Foam, Alkalite and Duo Safety Ladders, BA Face Shield Protectors, Truckman's Choice Saws, Grove's Gear Racks and Washer Dryers, Supervac Fans, RPI, Streamlight, and many others. A New Jersey incorporated and based company, sales and service are limited to the state of New Jersey. Find us now at www.njfe.com. That's www.njfe.com.
Wonderful. We'll play the other one in the middle and the other one at the end. That's what
Okay,
we'll
sounds
do.
good.
We
Let
need
me know
to
when
take
you're ready.
we need to take a pee-pee break. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
We got the old ladders here. We got to take a pee-pee break. Let's bring him in here. My captain, and my senior dude. Roof, do it.
You ready, guns?
Yes, sir. Let's go. Ready to go.
Coming to the stage, Captain Dennis Murphy
Oh,
and Frank Coley.
Frankie!
Welcome, gentlemen.
Welcome back. Say something now, Hank, before your internet goes out.
Let me.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here, and hello to all my friends out there in Leatherhead Nation.
Captain, my captain, thank you for coming on again and sharing all this knowledge that, like you did with us back in the day when me and Louie were just young pups, right?
Yeah, well, it's they taught me. I just passed it on to you. That's all it is.
Paying it forward.
That's what we're supposed to do.
And that's what you guys did too. So it's the way it goes.
Yeah.
All right, so let's dive right in. Tonight we're going to talk about
Hold on.
What? Oh, we got to get patriotic. My bad.
All right.
Look, I'm out of the groove.
You busted my balls. Get that button ready. All right, here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wonderful. Okay, so now we're going to talk about garden apartments, townhouses. What else, Cap?
Yeah, and all of those, we're going to lump everything into one. I mean, they are different, slightly different, but most of the firefighting problems are the same. So, we'll just get into it, and like I said, everybody chip in. As far as you had a job here, you had a job there. It's supposed to be a kitchen drill, so that's what we should be doing. I had this happen, I had that happen, and we'll kind of let those experiences, feed off each other, and as we go.
Sounds
Roger
good.
that.
All right. Well, we'll bring this up here so we can mix.
Wow.
Next.
Airbrush.
Nice.
Next. All right, here we go. Here you go.
Okay, so we had originally we're going to do a random thoughts, which this kind of led to, but this turned up being it was such a big topic that we just we're going to stay just on pretty much garden apartments, because when I started to look at what I had in the different places, I had a lot of material, so it's just, and there was a lot of photographs that I had accumulated on this with the intention of putting into other programs. But again, like I said the last time, we talked about you guys and passing it on, and you passing it on to the guys in the companies that you worked in 288 especially. I passed it on to you. Hank passed it on to you. But these are some of the guys that we learned from. And Tom Brennan was one of my mentors, and that's why we call this Random Thoughts, because I always loved what he did in the back of the magazine. A lot of people read that magazine back to front because they went to see what he had to say. I have his book here, and it's all different topics, and most of those observations and tips that he passed along are still applicable today. You think about a lot of stuff changes, but a lot of stuff doesn't. We still got to go in and put it out. So,
that's you on the left.
That's me all the way on the left. Yeah, Joe McDermott, Willie Green, and that's Captain Brennan. Willie's kind of obstructed by Captain Brennan, right. But that's what he used to do after every fire. He would line us up like that informally and just ask us, where'd you go? How'd you get there? What did you do when you got there? So like I said, you were under a little bit of pressure to perform, like he wanted to know how his company performed at a fire. You don't see that too much anymore. You just, you go, everybody comes out. Now they take a picture, it's like, yeah, we did a great job. It's like, all right, well, where did you go? And what did you do? And how'd you get there? And it was all, a lot of hard charging young guys that just, that wanted to learn their trade. I think Eddie Kilduff mentioned it on your show. It was a real good place, a real good incubator of good firefighters. Every company in that area was like that. It was really good.
Is he still around,
Ed? You mean
Captain Brennan?
Captain Brennan passed away about 10 to 15 years ago. I think
wow.
The last time I saw him was at FDIC, and then he lived in Florida. He used to be one of the keynotes at FDIC just about every year. He did a whole thing with Chief Brunacini from Phoenix that was very well received all the time. But he was a lifelong instructor, and he was just a great teacher of young firemen. So that was one of my influences. And the next slide you'll see is one of the other ones that I just wanted to add here, which is John Vigiano, who we've talked about many times on here. But he was another guy. He was a great mentor for young firefighters. He was a guy who was from 132, where Hank started. He was a longtime officer, a lieutenant in Rescue 2, and then he was the captain of 176. Which I worked in both of those companies, in 176 and Rescue 2 with him. So he made a big impression on me also,
Did he walk lopsided? Do you guys remember? Because of all those medals.
Yeah.
I'm just looking. He's got 4 A's, 2 B's.
Think about it. You ever see like you look at so many guys from that era, guys like, and not all older guys like Patty Brown, just Jack Pritchard, these guys just saw such a tremendous amount of fire duty. It was they were exposed to it, and they were very good at what they did. And that was the thing with Viz. You look at him, and you go, in a job full of high quality fire officers, he stood out. Just that fact alone, in a job full of high quality people, he was exceptional. Right. So I don't want to stay on it. I just wanted to mention him and move on. But great teacher of firefighters. Right. Go ahead, Hank.
I think we should mention, since it's still 9/11 week. Unfortunately, he lost both his sons on 9/11. The one who was in 132, and the other was the emergency services.
Yeah, right. Yeah, John and Joe. Okay, so getting into what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about garden apartments, townhouses, some other buildings that are similar. We're going to throw them all in one basket and just go through the problems that they present for us. But again, buildings like that are nothing new. Urban departments have fought row frame fires for 150 years now. But these are the modern equivalent of row frames, and they're nothing new. They go back to the 50s. These modern type, but a lot of things have changed. They got a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences too. And there's a lot of differences in the construction of these buildings over time. Lightweight construction is one of them. A lot of voids. Some of the voids similar to the row frames, and the construction end of it. Not only how it's built and how it's designed, but how it's installed and the workmanship. Modern buildings do not have common cocklofts.
I was just going to say that they had to have changed that at least, for God's sake.
Right. But the thing is, how well is the fire protection in the current cocklofts? And it varies widely. I'll show you. I've got a slide that I saw personally of a building that's never had a fire in it, but it's going to be like a fifth alarm. It's in 288's area.
You mean due to shoddy workmanship?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
We were pretty lucky. There were a lot of buildings going up when we got this. We were able to go in as they were putting them up and see what kind of construction they were.
Yeah.
I mean, there still are, you could consider them common cocklofts because they may not run a whole block, but they're definitely not separated into single units.
Oh, yeah.
You might have 3 or 4 units that are incorporated in whatever the square footage of that, that county they're in. I think like Nassau, I think it's 7,500 square feet that has to be fire stopped. So that could include, 3 separate townhouses.
Yeah, that varies. That's a big thing. That varies.
Did you lose me?
From
you're good.
different areas of the country, right?
Say that again.
In other words, that number that that can vary from in different areas.
That's what I'm saying is that we have, you do have you still have the common cockloft. That's knowing your area, knowing what your building codes are, okay, well, if we got fire in this cockloft or the attic of this one, is the firewall right at the exposure 4 side, 2 side, or is this the middle building? So those are all things you have to think about. With the fire spread.
Yep, and how well it's installed. I mean, and look at, you go back to the buildings. One of the first jobs I had in 288 was way out east, and it was in a row of garden apartments, and but they were all masonry, so it didn't go anywhere. It basically stayed within the upper it went nowhere except for the original fire building. But you look at it now, and you look like even like with performance-based codes, the cinder block firewall, which we used to have for decades, right? That's been replaced by gypsum board. And how well installed is it? Right. The guy that comes in, it wasn't that easy to get through a cinder block wall, like to run a cable line or something. I mean, it got done, but it wasn't. It was harder to compromise it. You see this, doubled 1-inch gypsum board, and you see that in everything from high rises.
It's a hole like this for a while like that.
yeah, exactly.
Remind you something, Lou?
yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. So, go to the next slide, Gons.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a good example of a modern set of townhouses. It's a lot to ask from, especially for mid-sized suburban fire departments. This is another, like a commercial building. This is not a private dwelling. This is going to be a fire like this is going to be a minimum of 4 hand lines, and especially if there's fire on the lower floors as well, because it's in the original unit. It's probably spread, and I'm assuming it spreads on either side. So you have to have at least 2 hand lines in the original unit, and then you're going to have 1 hand line minimum in each exposure. So right there, that's 4 engine companies, at least 4 engine companies. Yeah. So that's a full first alarm assignment, and with relief and additional lines, and
it's more than that in rural areas. Maybe 2 guys on a rig, and where's the other one coming from? So these guys got their hands full with these jobs.
Down here in South Florida, 3 guys to an engine company.
Right.
Hey,
Gonzo, let me ask you something. 3 guys to an engine pull up. Is it common practice in your area to team up engines, or does each engine, the 2 guys other than the pump operator, stretch the first line, let's say 1 3/4 inch line into this?
It obviously depends on response time, but for the most part, we team up with our rescue, which is the ambulance down here. So we have to end up with a 5-person crew that can pair up, and then they can do a stretch. The second engine company be a water source, and the checkbox of things that need to be in place. But for the most part, they'll pair up initially a rescue.
Yeah,
with them.
Yeah, that's what they do out on Long Island. They'll pair up companies because a lot of companies are coming in understaffed, especially during the day.
Yeah,
I was going to say. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
So I was going to just say in this picture here, looking at this, like I remember when they were building a lot of the newer 3-family houses, kind of similar to these townhouse types, like you're talking about. You would see that the dividing wall come through the roof, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times you would see if it was peaked or if it was like this like just a slanted roof here, like you would see it come through. So just looking at this, like that's got to be a common cockloft here, right? I mean, this would have to be
not necessarily. It could be, but not necessarily. A lot of for a while there, a lot of like in my town, I can tell you, we have these buildings that, just like you described it, comes through the roof. It's visible from the outside. The chief doesn't have to guess about the boundaries of the fire, or the fire containment, as long as it's intact, and that's a big if. But then also we have ones that come right up to the underside, and we have some pictures of those later, and they don't penetrate the roof. So it's there, but it's not that easy to see. And then you have buildings that have different levels, and that acts as like the firewall. In other words, the vertical.
This looks like multiple apartments here, so I'm going to say
it actually
is a common cockloft there.
Yeah, it could be. It might not be. I'm always a little hesitant to read too much into any one picture because you're just getting a snapshot, and but as we go along, we'll see better images that describe what we're talking about.
Well, one of the things on this particular building that I see, and I'm not familiar with it, is this. It's 2-story, like you would consider a garden apartment, but there is no separate outside doors. This has an interior hallway and obviously an interior stairway. So it's almost I would treat it like a 2-story apartment building.
It's actually it looks like, if you look closely at the picture, it looks like it's a 3-story because it's probably down a couple of steps and then occupancy.
Oh, yeah, that is a 3-story.
Basement occupancy, But anyway, but let's move to the next slide. We'll see. All right, this is a fire we had in my town. Actually, these are two. And this building on the left is. Anybody want to take a guess as to what this is? A repurposed building. Anybody want to take a guess as to what the original occupancy
like
of this
school?
School. I was going to say a school.
Correct. Yeah, it was a school, and it is an apartment. But you go in a center hallway, and then all the apartments are off. There's another entrance further down with the same kind of arrangement. Tremendous voids in something like this. In other words, this was all boxed out. Let's say the original classroom had a 10-foot ceiling. These ceilings are 8 feet, over every one. It's all boxed out. Big fire load. The original school had a big fire load. The cockloft in this thing is like 6 feet tall, all wood, and open from right to left. Now, and I used to say that off to the races. You could have a full first alarm assignment sitting across the street, and if the fire gets into that cockloft and gets possession of that, you're not going to be able to get ahead of that. It's going to be very difficult.
What kind of?
Is that a fake mansard on that?
Yeah, it's a phony mansard, right? The front of the building is vertical. The brick veneer, I believe, is also new too, like for when it was converted. But a friend of mine was go ahead.
So you have two issues there. If it gets in the cockloft, it could be running, or if it auto exposes into the mansard, it could just be running the mansard from left to right.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened here. It got in there, but they knocked it down from the outside pretty quickly, before it took off. But the masonry wall, that the ladder is up against, that goes vertically all the way up, and there's a cornice up there. But again, it's a converted building into apartments that it wasn't its original function, creates unique problems. And then the other building is a set of classic peaked roof, townhouses, 1 unit, 2 stories, that they had a job in about 5 or 6 years ago. But again, this is at night, so I'm going to point this out later. But look at the parking situation, very tight for the first 2 units here, So getting in and out, that's one of the big considerations, is you're only going to be able to get so much apparatus near the fire building.
Yep.
You really have to be thinking about pre-planning that ahead of time.
Yeah, you said it there.
Some of them have courtyards where they're dead ended, so that's going to be.
I remember
really tough to get
306 had a
in.
bunch of those. 305 had a bunch of those.
Yeah,
I think 315 had a bunch of those.
Yeah, the courtyard stretches.
Yep.
Okay, next slide. All right, this is one that, again, it's not a classic 2 or 3 story garden apartment, but
They do some good there.
the fire problem is exactly the same. All right, this fire was in Edgewater, New Jersey. It was an apartment complex, all lightweight construction. Over 500 people made homeless on a January night. I remember, bitter cold out. This place is right off the Hudson River.
Yep.
And it's just.
I remember that.
It's right across from like the Upper West Side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so a luxury apartment building, but the construction features are the exact same construction features that we're going to be talking about tonight. So the story is the bitter cold night, wind driven, very windy, which makes it worse. Somebody has a frozen pipe in their apartment. All right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And
What
do they do? They call the plumber, right? The plumber comes. Where's the frozen pipe? It's up in the truss space in the ceiling. I think it was on the second floor. So plumber goes up there and starts sweating the pipe to thaw out the blockage, and he ignites he gets a small fire going up in the truss loft. He tries putting it out. He's unsuccessful in putting it out, so they leave. And I think they called it in. But by the time the fire department arrived, it was, like I said, off to the races. This entire complex that you see in the upper picture there burnt down. I believe it was almost 500 people homeless. This isn't a luxury condominium. And I believe the Yankees announcer, John Sterling, lived in this place.
I think
yeah,
that's correct.
There was a big name that lived in the place. It got a little more press than a fire normally would. But that is the kind of problem that you're looking at, a fast-moving fire, very resource-heavy. You're coming in, you don't have enough units ever for something like this, So this is, this in New York would probably be the equivalent of a 4th or a 5th alarm, maybe even more today, But you're really playing catch-up because, you think about it, it's a beautiful building, fully sprinkled. So the odds of a serious fire are very small statistically. But what happens? Murphy shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then boom,
it ain't Dennis Murphy.
I was going to say, it ain't Dennis. It is a Cap Murphy.
Boom, boom.
Hey, Cap, these newer types like this, like when I think about that, like even by 288, as the years went on, the newer construction, everybody was using those metal studs, right? Is that what most of these are done with nowadays? Is it all metal?
No, I don't think so. But there's quite a few that are. A lot of the interior walls are. Some the entire building is. I just saw a picture of one. It was the entire building was metal C-joist. A little further in, I have some pictures that we took of how those perform at fires. They're in renovations and not new construction. But you'll see it in a minute. They look like spaghetti. And I'm talking about the larger joist, not the interior.
Right, the big C joist, right?
Yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to show it does happen. It has happened. It's going to happen again. And this type of construction is the same construction, the buildings that we're going to be talking about tonight. So, okay, guys, thanks. Yeah, again, we just talked about it before. I'm not gonna belabor the point, but get out, know your district. Know the hydrant locations. Everything's in the computer today. Make sure the computer's accurate. I used to take guys out driving, and I had the tablet in front of me, the MDT in front of me, and the hydrants are coming up as we're going down the street, and I would just look at, that's in the right spot. You would be amazed how many hydrants are in the wrong location. I mean, as far as the computer goes. So that's something you want to check when you can, and don't depend on somebody else to put it in. When you get back, you write it up and put it in and make sure they put it in for the correct location, And then know your buildings, the buildings that are hazardous, like we're talking about tonight. Know your target hazards, not only just residential, but, if you got we had residential and it was like in this building, this is residential and they have some special needs folks living there. That you need to know. That needs to be in it. If there's anybody with mobility issues, And like you guys said before, your access. Can you get in? Can you get to the rear? The rear in these places a lot of times is just like that's something that's in common with a row frame. Getting a portable ladder to the back, all right, or getting a ladder truck if that's possible.
Some of these garden apartments have like medical facilities in them, right? Don't they have like you'll find a dentist office in there?
Commercial. Yeah.
I haven't seen that too much. The smaller buildings, no, I haven't seen that, but they definitely do exist. The podium style buildings where you see like 2 floors of concrete construction, and then you name it above it. I think we got one a couple of towns over that's I think 10 stories. So that's 2. It's 8 over 2. 8 over 2. So
Wow.
8 lightweight truss wood frame floors, right? So 8 lightweight truss floors over 2 concrete podium or pedestal floors, depending on what you call them. I think most of the time they're called podium buildings today. All right. So again, all the hazards that we just saw in that slide on Edgewater in those buildings above the concrete, and those buildings very often, like you were just saying, very often those first 2 floors can be used for a lot of different things. Sometimes they're used for parking. Sometimes they're used for retail and commercial restaurants, things like that. But I don't think they're that easy to build either, because I was just reading something about the maintaining the integrity of that division, from let's say 2 to 3, where it becomes wood. They're pretty stringent on the penetrations, right? Because you can see if it was a parking garage on the first floor and then or on the second floor, and then there's a car fire and it extends into the wood truss portion of the building. It's just like Edgewater. It's off to the races. All right.
So, I don't think you're gonna be able to hear me, because I got to tell you,
We got you.
Yeah, but as far as me listening, I got to apologize, because almost like every other word that Dennis is saying, or every third, I'm missing it. So I'm afraid to jump in, because I'm not hearing half of what he's saying. So,
you sure it's the internet and not the cabeza?
Yeah, no, it's a lovely internet. Like I said, it's.
You were serious about that?
Exactly. Well, I'll try to get this in. Since we're talking about pre-plan, the way I look at it, a classic garden apartment, the difference between that, say, and a row frame, a garden apartment is not a front to rear flat. Your exposure, what would be 3 or ABC, is a mirror apartment. So if you have a job in the second story, what's behind you in exposure 3 is actually a mirror adjoining apartment, and the fire stopping goes from the 2 to the 4 side. I've never seen it where they bring it up in between the front and the rear, because, like I tell you, they go by square footage, so that costs more money. Builders and developers don't like spending money, so you have to think about what's behind it on that exposure 3 side. Normally say, exposure 3 rear yard, or it's a street. Exposure 3 here is going to be in a typical garden apartment, that mirror apartment. And there are plenty of voids for fire to get in there. You got the pipe chasers for the bathroom vents. You might have the kitchen vent that runs through, and that's common with behind it. So those are all things you can't forget about what's happening on the other side. You're thinking about 2 and 4, exposure 2 and 4, but you got to get back there and see what's going on in exposure 3 also, because it might be rolling merrily in there or in a void. So you need a truck on the side.
Hey, did you say something? Because we couldn't hear you.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, man.
That's a good one, man.
Anyway, looking at the like Hank was saying, sometimes these buildings have more in common with like what we in New York would call the older buildings, like tenements, with apartments behind each other. But I'll get to this one here. This is an interesting fire. This is my mother used to live right across the street from this. And so this is a whole big development of this exact type of construction. These are all modular, garden apartments. And if you look at the picture on the right, You can see if you look real closely, there's two doors that go up. Those two doors go to the apartments upstairs on either side. So two over two. So there's an apartment on the right, apartment on the left on the first floor, which is hard to see the doors. But if you look at the entrance and look all the way to the left corner there, at the entranceway there to the left of the railing.
Handrails. You can see that.
Yeah, right. So, and then there's another one on the other side. So, and I'm familiar with the layout here, and it's my old apartment. This is East Meadow, a great fire department. But interesting story here. Modular. There is some truss from what I've been told in this, although I didn't see it myself. What happens is when, like what just happened with my mom, the place gets sold, right? So the next tenant wants to come in, and these are elderly people. It's a senior citizens complex. They want to redo it because generally the place that's being vacated is dated. So they have a contractor come in, or a series of contractors come in, and they redo the interior. And that's what was happening here, from what I was told. And the contractor came in, and he had a pizza box on the stove. Does that sound familiar, Hank? And
Watch Street.
Watch Street, right. So he goes to the back of the apartment or whatever. They're not huge apartments. They're not tiny, but they're not huge. He comes back and the pizza box is on fire. So he takes the pizza box, and instead of throwing it in the bathroom sink or just getting it off, the sink is right next to the stove, and putting it out, he decides to run it outside down the interior stairs. Yeah, you thought that this only happened in certain neighborhoods.
Job security.
It's universal. It's universal. So this guy, he drops it at the bottom of the stairs, and it takes off back up the stairs, and now it's blowing out the front door and cutting off the primary means of egress for both of the all three of the other apartments. So interesting. They did a good job. They came in. You can see the line stretched. It was a one-line fire. They did a very good job in putting it out. But I just wanted to point out the layout is interesting. You know, you get something right at the front door there. It's 4 apartments in a unit. So that's where there's no firewalls like Hank was just saying. It's a common cock loft upstairs for those 4 units. But then there's a division for the one on either side. There's a division wall. So that's a pretty common layout in the United States right now.
I was going to say, God, you must have those everywhere down by you, no?
Apartment complexes everywhere. I was going to talk about a little bit with that. Just the building construction is different as the CBS block. The entire encapsulates the entire structure. That's what just differentiates these from what you guys have up there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of...
I'm sorry, guys. Down here, what I've seen with the garden apartments is that you have a lot with where the second story has instead of a hallway, it has like an outside deck, but an outside hallway. It's open air into the doors. There's no enclosed hallway. So
it's the exterior balconies, if you will, all the way up. Yeah, it's very common down here.
Right, there'll be an exterior stair that
on
takes you
either
to
side of the building, and the apartment's just right down the line of each floor. Yeah,
right. There's no door that you open up to get and then walk a stair interior to get there.
So you open the door, you go into the apartment.
Right.
God, most of those are fully sprinkled. Sorry, Cap.
No,
that's right.
It was some depending on when they were built.
Right.
Obviously, anything new construction now, and we all know the developers are finding the ways to not put complete sprinkler system in. If it's for example, the code is anything over 75 feet has to require a building or a sprinkler system. They'll build it to 72 feet, so they don't have to put that extra money into and sprinkle it.
Crazy.
Yeah. So they're finding little ways about it. For the most part, we're pretty aggressive. So we want since Hurricane Andrew and that stuff, they're pretty proactive in making sure that these buildings get sprinkled as much as they can. So,
that's what I like is what you're still doing down there is the masonry units, the masonry walls that are going up, because that's the best protection from my point of view. I mean, you just see it over and over again.
This is a multi-story, if you will, type, but it's CBS block, hurricane windows. They're encapsulated in balconies all the way up. Kind of touching on what Hank was talking about earlier. Every apartment's pretty much set the same on every floor, is almost identical. We tell everybody go to the floor below for your layout. and then make your way up to the fire floor, etc. But that's what's very common is to see what you see here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's good construction both for storm prep and for fire safety. You know, the fire tends to be contained. You know,
yeah, we showed it's compartmentalized. I can't even say it.
Right.
So it becomes a room and content fire basically, and unless it gets up in the roof or it starts on the top floor, then we have to worry about it going left and right.
It's almost like a project fire.
yeah, and it's the same type of construction, really.
Yeah,
you're right.
Well, all that hurricane preparation, the block with the rebar and the hurricane windows, that is great. But the thing that is bad is like where we grew up, you could have a stick frame house with 2x6s, 2x8s, 2x10s as your rafters. Everything down here, the house could be built like a tank, but once it gets to the roof, it's all lightweight truss. Whether it's a private dwelling,
what you look at right here, so
everything is lightweight truss.
Same thing here. This is it's all lightweight truss. This is what we have. So.
Yeah, and when going in there that the clock is ticking. So that's the big thing. I'm sure firefighters in Florida are more aware than anybody as to what they're dealing with there.
Hey, Gons, those hurricane windows, have any effect on venting, or is it harder to break those windows, or is it?
Yeah, guys, if they can a little, especially if they're an insulated glass, where it takes a little bit more to get through them. But for us, it's the guys get gas sometimes just trying. If you don't use the right forcible entry technique to get through them, you're going to get your ass kicked and be spent. Especially, obviously, the time of day down here, as hot as it's been, all those other factors. But they're not easy to get through. We have some good tools that can. You can use a skill saw, whip right through them and cut them out. As long as you again use the right technique.
Really, is that what they do?
Yeah.
We have a Halligan through the middle of it.
No, you're gonna get gas. Yeah, well, if somebody doesn't train, you're gonna tell the guy that's swinging at that window.
Coobs, this is why nobody's taking the glass down there.
Yeah, that's why nobody takes it. See why everybody's on the roof? That's why. 82 guys on the roof. Nobody's taking windows.
We have a K9 saw now. The little miniature K12, if you will. Yeah. It's a K9 now, 9-inch blade that we have a general blade on it. Cuts right through the glass. 1, 2, 3.
I tell you what, it was an eye opener for me. The first time when I went to Orlando there with the Orange County.
Wow.
They do that symposium.
Yeah.
And then I think by you, Gons, too, with the at Coral Springs, they got hurricane glass sliding doors from one of the guys donated, and to actually, like you said, you're not breaking it with a Halligan, an axe.
And you can, but it's going to take a lot of work,
right? But but it's like learning how to cut a roll down for us. Like there were young firefighters there, and they were cutting it with the saw. They would cut the left side, the right side, the bottom. But then they made a doggy door because it doesn't break. It swings on laminate. So it was like, and then they couldn't reach up high enough. So like we said, well, let's talk about this. Let's brainstorm it. So I said, like cut it like you would a door, make a V at the top and then bring it down. And they tried that, and then the whole glass door fell in, so you didn't have the swinging doggy door. But it's tough stuff. It holds the heat, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely does. It can. That's where it influences. Now you talk about tactics, and you talk about fire behavior. It definitely influences these style buildings. It doesn't breathe so quickly.
Right.
So it does.
And you lose that one sense of when you're searching, hearing that glass break, right? Like that's gone.
Well, how about getting out if you got to get out of there? Now all of a sudden you can't take the glass to get out.
Yeah, I mean you can. It's just it's a lot of work. If you don't have the right.
Gonzo's saying there's men and then there's men. Roof. He doesn't know if you'll make it out.
I wasn't too sure.
No, I don't want to insult anybody. I'm just saying.
I'm just
saying. I'm telling you, better train.
All right.
One other point, because we're talking about truss roofs here, and if you're a firefighter now and you don't know about lightweight truss, then find another profession. But Dennis, you and I remember years ago teaching, and when we started teaching with the lightweight truss, we all learned about it because it started here in Florida with the Reedy Creek Fire Department by Disney.
Yeah.
Right in the 70s, they had the gift shop, and they went in. The two guys went in with the line. The fire had gotten up in the roof, and the whole roof, lightweight wood truss, collapsed on them and killed them both.
Wow!
That's when everybody started. Well, how did this happen? Oh, it's lightweight wood truss, and that kind of took off from there.
Yeah, that was one of the first really publicized incidents of a firefighter line of duty death. involving truss. They built that gift shop back exactly the way it was, truss and all, right after that. So, the whole idea of being educated about it, knowing the hazards, it's real important because, they're going to have that thing rebuilt before your wife gets your death benefit.
For a while, weren't they making it in certain places where you had to put a placard on it that said like lightweight wood truss roof or something? They were doing that with something. I think AIRs in New York, where if it was.
Yeah, that's all over in New York. I mean, they're required to placard it now, but I think it's optional for a pre-existing condition. In other words, if you have a truss building already, so there's thousands and thousands of them out there, I don't know if they're required to placard it. I'm not 100% sure. We were just talking about that. I'm not sure how that works because if it's a pre-existing condition, I don't know if that's required. So, all right, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, I got this one for you. We're going to do some tactics on this.
Oh my God.
That's got to be in China. Where is that?
Where is that? Legoland?
Montreal. I just found it in Montreal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There's a building on Leonard Street that looks like it could be the father of that building,
Oh my God.
The Jenga building?
Yeah, the Jenga building, right.
Connex City.
Yeah. I think Brian Kelty had that.
Yes.
For us. Yeah. So anyway, again, this is just these are garden apartments. Like I said, the quad unit. You can see the entrance is a little better. Like I said, it's they were modular. That's another big thing with these particular buildings. And my mother was amazed that the firemen went in there. It's like the laughing stock of my whole family. I can't believe those people went in there to put that fire out.
You're like,
Yeah,
Ma.
I do that for a living, Ma. Ma. You know what I am?
My wife's my wife's. So anyway, it's a running joke.
I never know what she's doing back there.
Back there. What is she doing back there?
Yeah. All right, next slide.
All right.
Nice job to East Meadow on that. So again, knowing your buildings, knowing how they're constructed, knowing the building codes and which ones fit into each group, that's important. We're not going to get into that here. But the upper picture here is a very good photograph, very clear photograph of a podium-style building. I think it's only one story. It looks like it might be parking on the first floor with apartments above. So this building is going up everywhere now, all over the country.
We got them, 3 of them going up right now.
Yep, and they're very popular. And, again, all I can say is they have a lot of similarities with the exception of the podium portion, the concrete lower floor portion with that Edgewater, New Jersey building. So be prepared. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum to fire resistive, like this hospital near me, which is very well built, steel skeleton, masonry, the whole thing. It's what a hospital should be, as far as its construction goes.
Are they attaching a parking garage to this or no?
Oh yeah, there's parking. What to which one?
The ones that they have built by me, they attach a parking garage to these.
So the ones by us, a lot of them have parking garages in the basement and on the first floor.
That's no.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Potential.
That's what that podium is. That's what it probably is. Parking below.
Yeah. So here you go, garden apartments, like we were just talking about.
That screen's right there.
And this is everywhere. Yeah,
of course. That's a Ford Taurus right there, bro.
It's an old picture. A bunch of my colleagues who were instructors at this is one of the slides from the Nassau Fire Academy, but it points this out very well, and it's clearly indicated 2 or 3 stories in height, and you can see, as Hank was talking about earlier, the entrances lined up the way they are. There's all different configurations. We just saw ones where they were 2 in the middle and then one on 90 degrees on either side. But there's all sorts of different configurations. But again, this indicates basically for most of the time, one apartment on each floor, and then one apartment on the second floor. Nice. All right, next slide. Same thing here. Now, this is the difference. These are like townhouses. I think this is my son's development where he lives, but I'm not 100% sure. But you can see with the dividing walls are exactly what you see, and up in the attic, you'll see them extending up to that point, and whether they go to the bottom or they go through, these obviously go to the bottom. But you can't from the outside tell whether, like Gonzo was saying, whether they're masonry walls or whether they're gypsum walls, doubled up 1-inch sheetrock, which basically gives you that rating. And they generally, you can tell they're separate utilities for each. That's an easy way to pick it out. But all right, next slide. Okay, same thing here. but the difference is the doors. Again, one unit, one family lives in that entire section between the yellow lines. All right, and that.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. But that was what I was getting at before. You notice how the roof lines here are staggered.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, that's the firewall. That's how you can tell it's a firewall. All right, it's generally intact, and that's what they do. They stagger it. That one picture at the beginning, those were all staggered. And it's just an easy way for them to put a firewall in.
And how do we identify that? Pre-plan.
All right, get out there.
Get out there.
Building inspection, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, BI. So we don't BI.
But Louis got scared for a minute.
Only if you're taking, you're on the take, then it's all right.
Oh, 190K. What?
Swing and a miss, he struck him out. Sorry, Cap.
Every 10 years, that seems to happen, right? it's like a 10-year cycle.
Yeah.
You have to take an interest in this when it's going up, not just after it's built on BI.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because once it's up and then you pull up to this, you're never going to know whether did they put a masonry wall, is it double gypsum,
Yeah.
And that's a great opportunity for fire officers to be taking pictures to drill on later. And when the new firefighters get there after it's built, they can say, hey, this is in our district, and this is what how it was built, and this is how fire is going to spread. So.
Hank, Ongero's pictures were still on the computer when I got there in 2009. When I came back, they were still on there.
We all know how it's built.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because what you have today, it might sleep for decades before you actually have an incident in it. You know what I'm saying? I used to always say, my trainings out here, I would say, this stuff goes in the computer, and we might not need it until the guy, and I'll point to the Proby. Until little Tommy here, who just joined last week, is the chief. That may be the next time we need to use this. But it's true, because it's like it goes to sleep, and unless the senior men and the officers talk it up and go, what the problem is with that building, what the major safety issue is there, and with all of these, the biggest thing is the interior, which we didn't even talk about. It's just like a private dwelling, the open interior stairs that carries the products of combustion upstairs. And then the other stuff comes into play, the compartmentalization, like Gonzo said, the common cockloft, if it gets up there, how well secured is that cockloft? How and that goes back to what Hank just said about seeing it when it's installed. And I got a couple of good slides. Hopefully we get to them, of a building in Queens that was going up and didn't do such a great job. So they haven't had an incident in it, but we'll see. So move on to the next slide. And here it is. That's exactly what I was talking about. So I got three real experienced people here. What is the problem in this? This building is under construction. This has been occupied for 25 years now.
The web.
All right. Somebody lives here.
Yeah. What is going on?
The web. They're using that OSB board for the web and the truss.
Yeah, that's certainly part of it. All lightweight components. It's a huge quad, lightweight wood truss as a ridge pole. But that's not what I'm talking about.
What is that? Is that stuck on the insulation there? What is that thing on the top?
Where are you talking about?
Right now, you have insulation that's still creating a void for travel to spread in where the 2x4 walls are. You got TJI as your floor joist or your ceiling rafters there, wherever the Ticos are holding in. So that's and then obviously you got the gusset plates that are holding together this lightweight wood truss that, with a little bit of fire, is going to. I
wish I could zoom in on that.
That main beam looks like it's resting on the insulation.
It's okay. I'm going to tell you.
But it's not going up to the top.
Yeah.
Right. That's exactly it. So this is getting back to the point earlier about what the quality is of the firewalls and the partitions between the units. And like Hank said, you got to get in there when it's under construction. So Brian Hickey and I stopped because it was on our way home, and when we first started working together downtown, and we said there's this new complex. It was at the Northern State Parkway and the Grand Central Parkway. It's the old seminary property there. And they built, I don't know how many, 40 or 50 beautiful, very upscale townhouses.
Yeah.
This is the attic of one of them. So peaked roof, you can see all the components. The components itself, like you guys pointed out, are plenty enough to worry about. But that green board is not insulation. That's gypsum board.
Gypsum.
That's the firewall. And they managed to do a great job getting it in, getting it caulked, getting it compliant. Except they just, in every unit we went in, they
had the
just
same space.
Yeah. They couldn't quite get it up. I'm waiting. This is going to be a fifth alarm. This is going to be a fifth alarm.
It's sleeping, Cap. It's sleeping.
It's sound asleep, man. It's snoring away. But man, what a surprise!
Absolutely.
I gave this to the deputy chief in the division at the time. Nothing.
Hank, have you ever seen trusses married up like that? Like there's 4 or 5 of them there. How many are there? I've never
Those
seen
are
that.
2x6s, right? 2x6s or 2x8s? What were those, Cap? Were those 2x8s?
I think 2x8s. Yeah, might be the website.
But even they're
I
not
don't even
resting
think
on anything.
I don't think it's that big, guys. That's why there's so many of them put together.
Was
It's
it
either
two by
a
six
2x4 or a 2x6.
Yeah, I'd say
And-
2x6. Yeah,
And it's,
I've never seen that before. And they're not resting on anything. It looks like they're just
it actually looks like it is. I thought the same thing.
They
It
are.
looks like by the gusset plates.
They are resting on it. They're resting on the 2x4.
Right.
It has to be.
Yeah.
it's amazing, right?
Right,
So-
right. And
so-
then the
so
other
again-
2x4s are just there to give structural strength between the webs. But the bottom cord is resting on a column of
I
the
see
same
it.
amount
I
of
see it.
2x4.
Of 2
It
by 4.
doesn't look. Oh, it does look like that.
Yeah, it is.
1,
It is.
2,
because the one is different colors. You know, like
Yeah.
there's-
right. There's 5 2x4s that it's sitting on.
I don't think I've ever
column.
seen that like that.
Yeah, no, it's very unusual. Brian Hickey and I were talking about it the rest of the way home, and we're going, man, this is going to kill somebody. I mean, this is unbelievable. But but it's out there, and it's not the only example of things like this. It's
Hopefully it stays sleeping.
yeah, exactly.
You know what? You know the reason why it would have to be that big? Because it's probably spanning a tremendous
Huge
distance.
area.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So
It
has
was.
to be that big to
It was.
support the distance.
These were big luxury buildings. I mean, and but rows of them. Rows of them. I have more pictures of it. I took like 20 or 30.
And like I said, the weakness there, besides is the gusset plates.
Yeah,
You know,
without a
it's-
doubt. And some of these
You
are actually
alligator a 1/4 inch, the thing falls out, and then it's a domino.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first ones were actually occupied when we went to this, and two. Yeah, this is that's
Also the
actually
same one?
the same thing. These are ones in the same development that are not quite as far along. So if you look real closely where the vertical wall is on the left-hand side of the picture, you'll see that same gypsum board doubled up, I think 1 inch. If you look over to the right where the ladder is, the work ladder that the manufactured ladder, there's the other one right there, doubled up 1 inch. That's the firewall, all right, on either side between units. And again, everything, it's a lumberyard, built on a slab. But everyone that we went in,
Had the little peekaboo.
had that little gap at the top, So the drywall contractor really needed some work. I mean, again, was I there when they sold it and they opened it? No. Did they finish it right? I tend to doubt it because we saw one like that. I think that one that we just saw the previous slide may have been in a unit that had been sold already but not occupied.
Right.
So
In the city of New York, I think it's still the same. I don't know what, like down by UConn where we are, Gons, but large commercial high-rise and stuff. When it comes time, they have to have a separate fire inspection as far as for fire retardant. Anytime there's a penetration, and they have to use a certain amount, a certain type of caulk and everything. But here, these guys, these architects can self-certify. So I mean, they're kind of liable because they're putting their name to it. But we all know that sometimes there's an envelope that comes across the table, and right. Once the wall's closed up, it's like no harm, no foul.
Right, exactly.
So,
Look at the size of the cutouts for those.
I know. I was like, man, talk about a builder's curse. If you
What do you want to get his whole fist, his whole arm in there? What is it?
I mean,
that's an abortion. That thing on the right.
Oh my God!
I think I showed you a picture of the building on the left with the cutout with the what do you call it? The ductwork going through it. There was a this building on the left had a cutout for AC ductwork that was almost the entire diameter of the web, so it was so where's it going to fail?
mean,
and then look at the end wall. The end wall is C joist metal. You were talking about metal C joist earlier,
Yeah.
that's the bearing wall on this, so not hard to see. And then when you see, I don't know,
Really
yeah,
beefy.
it's and you know what these
That's
are
why
right,
it's lip braced right there, because they need to get some more in there to hold the damn platform up.
Yeah, exactly. And these were in 176's first due area, about 3 blocks from the firehouse. The guy told us that one of the reasons that they use the metal C joists on the bearing walls is, like Gonzo was saying, in Florida they use the masonry units, the cinder blocks, right? Well, here they were able to. This is what happens with the codes; they're different from place to place. They're trying to change that, and they have to a certain extent. But this is what was allowed. It was like the Wild Wild West back, and this was in the 1990s, the early 90s, right? But this guy told me, because this was an entire block of these, he said by doing that, by getting away from the cinder blocks, they picked up enough space between each unit for an entire city block, a long block, to put up another unit.
Another building, yeah.
Another building.
So that's like the building code, 75 feet. We need a sprinkle system.
Yeah.
They just went the other way with that one.
And the other picture speaks for itself. All I have to say is thank God craftsmanship isn't dead.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
With those joists, you're allowed to make a penetration 1/3 of the diameter of the joist without affecting its strength integrity. So right there, you've got two tandem where they have no, the one they cut the whole top cord off and then basically the whole web.
Yeah, the top cord off.
Yeah,
there's no structural integrity there. And the other one, the whole web is cut out, so there's hardly any structural integrity there. You get any fire in there, and it's just going.
That's a beaut. That's
without a doubt. Let me just see if I can find where the other. These are your C joists. Now these were in a. These were brand new. These were this was in a renovated tenement on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. The one picture on the left, right? So how did these buildings perform? I forget. I had to go to a meeting one day, and Brian Hickey and I were working together. So I think it might have been Ray Goldback or Eddie Garrity said they had like a third alarm in Sunset Park last night, but they said there was a big issue with some new type of construction and also in a renovation. Right, this is the building on the right is the aftermath of the second alarm in Sunset Park, where these were used in a renovation. Right, not in a new building, not in new construction. And look at how they behaved at that second alarm. All right, they look like spaghetti, right? So I thought when I first saw them that they'll perform all right. And man, you see that now, and every fire with these things looks like that.
That's great.
That's an interesting picture. If you look, Dennis, the one with the C joists are all deformed. Yeah. That's an old frame next to it, correct?
Yeah, exactly. And I believe the fire building was a renovated frame.
Right. So for you New York guys that are watching, the young ones, when you talk about the frame and it's talking about brick nogging in between the units, that's what all that is. What you see in between those charred wooden studs, that's brick nogging that's supposed to keep fire from spreading into the next building. But when it's 100 years old and the mortar's dried out and you see they just used all old bricks and stuff, you could see how easily fire could spread through that.
It's another building, yeah.
So so that's it was a newly renovated building next to that old frame.
Right, exactly. And just don't be deceived like I was the first time I saw this, and I said, which I saw it in new construction. We were able to walk through it, but I said, who knows? Because we had no experience with it. I don't think anybody did at that point. I don't think this will be that bad. It's it's non-combustible, and man, you see it gets exposed to heat and it wilts. It just wilts right away. All right, so what do we have to do? We were talking about it a little earlier. I've always loved this. This saying is the single best life-saving action is a well-placed hose line. Put it out before it kills somebody or it comes looking for us. And that's it. we tend to get we overthink things sometimes today as to what we should be doing, and just go back to basics and get the line into operation. And you can't stress that enough. It's just get that first line operating.
Mm-hmm.
Wet stuff on the red stuff, right?
Yep.
Sure.
Tell that's an old picture, 5-man engine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you're rolling heavy here, right?
Yeah. But that's what it says. They did a lot of studies with that, and that's how they were able to justify five-man staffing. And you got to remember, one of those guys is the pump operator, so it's 4 guys to stretch. And even today, when it's a 4-man engine and it's 3-man stretching, what does the job do? The job requires companies, especially for the first line, because the job is emphasizing get the first line at top, that they team up engine companies. That's required today, So and we were doing that before I retired. It was like, a second due, we're stuck, assisting.
Unless you're in 290, that don't go, right, Lou?
That don't go, right.
Allegedly.
So, but what I'm saying, you know what? Again, from around the country, we get spoiled in New York because we do have decent staffing. That's one of the things I've always said when I've spoken or talked to guys from around the country. We're spoiled. You go to a place like where Gonzo works, it's a completely different ball game. It's a completely different ball game. I always remember going to Disney once with my kids, and we're never like off duty, and you pull up to a light and a ladder truck pulls up next to me, and I'm looking at how many guys are in the back of this thing. I'm looking at it and I go, 1,
maybe
2.
Anyway, you might get a second.
This is the #1 tourist destination in the United States. They are printing money basically in this town, and they can only afford 1 firefighter in the back. Now, the average person doesn't know anything. They know that there's the firefighter and there's firefighters on the fire truck. We're good. But we all know when we look at these buildings that we're staying in, and we go, this is a standpipe. This is a major commitment of manpower just to search this place. Let alone if there isn't so there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on these days.
So
at least 5 more, Darren.
At least 5 more,
Right,
buddy.
Darren, 5 more.
Yeah.
Don't be a hater. You said that we're spoiled. I don't think we're spoiled. I think we're staffed the way you should be staffed.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
And that we've got friends all over now. Carolinas and Florida, and I always say, man, I can't believe you're getting it done with this small amount of guys you have.
Well, it's just about calling the alarms early, and you kill it with manpower with a few trucks. We'll kill it with manpower with several trucks, kind of thing, because you need the body.
The problem with that is also distance.
Reflex time. Yeah.
It takes longer to get the guys there.
How about places that are even more rural than where Gonzo is? I mean, they're riding with nobody, man. I mean, they're waiting a while for somebody else to come in.
We used to call it 10-8 light with just a driver.
Gonzo, let me ask you this, because I think in New York, it was always the dispatchers had a lot of leeway. If they were getting numerous calls and you could hit the phone ringing, they would tell the chief going, listen, chief, we're getting numerous calls. We're giving you an extra engine and truck or, whatever. I've never, I've been in firehouses down here and are they that strict that they don't give the dispatches, or the dispatches just aren't into the job that way?
No, it's not designed that way.
To get there and then make that decision. Okay, now we need more units.
It's changing a little bit, but for the most part, the dispatchers, they have a strict way that they go. And if it's something like that where they're getting multiple phone calls, they'll dispatch the first alarm assignment, and then, so by the way, chief, we're receiving numerous phone calls on that. And if the chief's paying attention, which most of us are paying attention, they'll upgrade the assignment and send an extra engine or a rescue or something like that to start until we get somebody on scene. But that's usually how it is. But the dispatchers don't have the freedom to, because you guys operate completely different. I wish they had a little bit more freedom to do that and make those judgment calls when they get the information firsthand. But we have a lot of new dispatchers too that we're trying to train, so we're dealing with that transition as well now too. But to answer your question, it's really, up to the chief if they provide the right information on dispatch.
Right, because a minute or two, getting a rig rolling, that much sooner can make a big difference in your initial attack.
Like Frankie said, you could always turn them back.
Yeah, you always turn them back.
Yeah. getting water on the fire is the big thing. You know? It's 101.
Solves a lot of problems.
Yep. Next slide makes things better. But we still have the rescue problem, like you see here.
Speaking of problems,
yeah, big problems, right? And then removing civilians right there. That now your hose operation comes to a grinding halt if you only got one unit. Yeah, that's the classic promotional exam question. What do? You pull up and there's somebody hanging out a window like the picture on the right, but you're an engine company, you got to stretch the line. So what do? You know, so that's always been an issue in the fire service. You know, going back forever. I always remember reading an article about the Our Lady of Angels fire in Chicago, and the first two officer on the first two engine was pilloried initially because he stretched the line. And he stretched the line in when they were dropping kids out of the upper floors, right? But in hindsight, he did exactly the right thing, because he got in there and he was able to start knocking the fire down. And by putting that line where he put it, he saved an additional number of people who would have perished if he had.
For the reason you just said 2 seconds ago, right? Get the line in operation. It's going to save more lives than you know.
But we're still going to have the rescue problems, you know. And this is the one thing that bothers me with lightweight construction is it's all okay. It's manageable. Like we're talking now, right? All right, we've thought about it. We're aware of it. We know how to handle it, but it's always at 2:00 in the morning or 1:00 in the afternoon that understaffed engine turns the corner, and now mom is on the front lawn. And this building, which we have no intention of going into because it's so hazardous, because of the way they built it. Now 2 kids are in there, you know, and that's what always happens. And then we got to be firefighters. You know, then we got to, no, we're not going to, you know, we want to be safety advocates. We want to do things safely. We want to, everybody go home, all this stuff. But mom is on the front lawn. 2 kids are in there. You know, what are you going to do? So next slide. There's a fire out by us. Again, same kind of thing, you know, garden apartments, life hazard. This was, I believe, Jericho, New York. But again, void spaces, fire can really extend, and it did. And unprotected cock loft and attic spaces, which, you know, are going to vary in the type of compartmentation that they have to limit the spread. You know, it's going to vary from even in the same municipality, generation of buildings. You know, buildings that were built 40 years ago, 50 years ago are going to have a different level of fire protection than the buildings that were built today. You know, so and you have to be aware of it. And again, getting back to what we've been saying over and over again, you got to get out, you got to inspect them, you got to be aware of the hazards.
Yeah, Lou. I mean, sorry, that's over now.
Okay, so what do we do? You know, the general tactics are get a line into operation and then flank the fire on either side to keep it from extending, out past the building. So to do that, you know, into the exposures on the right and the left, you know, and that's easier said than done. Again, think about the amount of manpower. It's a 4-line fire, as we said earlier, you know, at least a 4-line fire. What kind of resources do you need on scene in your organization to be able to do that, to be able to get that kind of efficiency and get that kind of water on the fire, and to be able to confine and extinguish the fire, you know? So you got to get up. Yeah, very often it's going to be, but sometimes when it, you know, if it hasn't, let's say it's in the original townhouse and it's up and into the attic, you can get into the exposures without much problem. Start to get the ceilings down and apply water to keep it from spreading. But again, if you don't have the resources to do that, you're absolutely right, Gonzo. You're absolutely right. It's going to be a towel line, and in some places, you know, it is from the get-go.
Something like that. I mean, like for us, you talk about tactics. Something that's coming through the roof, we're more than likely we're not going in. It's going to be immediately a surrounding drown. Our tactics, if we can't handle it, because our engines carry 1,000 gallons of water on all of them. So if we can't hit it with the first 2 on scene, it's going to a defensive operation. We're not even going to, you know, with staffing everything too. So.
I've been watching a lot of videos, putting these videos together for the Cup of Joes that I do, and I think one of the most underused tools is the deck gun, because I see it a lot, like in Harrisburg, where they do a lot of work. They'll have 3 buildings going, and only one engine's on site. And I don't know how many guys I ride with, and they were calling, get the deck gun, get the deck gun. And the chauffeur climbs up there, and he knocks down a lot of fire with the deck gun before the guys can get in there and stretch a line.
Depending on the tank water, they get a good 2-minute burst. For some of us, 2 minutes is average.
Just enough to knock it down, so just for another engine to come in to get the line stretched or whatever it is. But
we used to practice. That was like one of the first things we did when we became the squad, right? Captain Murphy had the shut off up there.
Yeah.
We had the shut off on the top so that you could shut. You could start it, then run up, and then open it up.
Yep.
I remember.
Yeah, and that's the whole, what are they calling it now? Transitional attack or whatever. But blitz attack.
You said
it was yeah, I know. And it's like there are times for everything. I don't agree with that. Like for a one-room fire.
No.
But I got a picture of a house going. I don't know if we'll get to it, but over the summer that we used the deck gun, and the fire was knocked down in 30 seconds to a minute. I mean, I think more on the 30-second end. And it was a fully involved house fire. It went from being an expanding operation to an operation now that was contained and mopped up with hand lines pretty much. I think we used the towel ladder for a little bit, and then they mopped it up with hand lines. But again, using the right tool at the right time. That's important. If you know what, you want to skip to that because we don't have that much time left. I'll show you what I'm talking about.
What slide number is
it? Go to 35.
Stand by. Boom.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a perfect job for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just protect the exposures at that point.
Yeah. So this is 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay, on a weekday. The story is this fire started on the outside somewhere on the side we're looking at. The closest exposure was on the 2 side, on the B side, right? And that was getting ready to go. Siding was burnt off of the house that's on the exposure 4 side that we're looking at here. People are home for this. There's a grandmother watching her granddaughter in the house. And luckily there was a contractor across the street that was putting a driveway in or something. And the guys ran across the street and were able to get the people out the back door. They didn't even know the house was on fire. So it was all on the outside. So it's a little deceiving looking at it, but it's not on the outside anymore looking at this picture because it got right into the cockloft and the attic, I should say. And it was just fully involved. So anyway, the engine gets in, and just like what I was going to say, this picture was taken by a neighbor across the street. So next slide. So these guys came in. This is the first 2 engine on the left, and they get on the hydrant. For once, luck is on our side. The hydrant is diagonally across the street.
Oh,
they hit it. They hit it with this deck gun, and like I said, they had a great water supply. The hydrant was right there, and this thing was knocked down. That kind of fire was knocked down in 30 seconds to a minute.
Perfect.
Mopped up with that towel ladder and hand lines, and literally this operation was under control in 20 minutes. From what you just saw. But again, like you guys were talking about before. Yeah, and that could have been an expanding operation into 2 different homes. Other than we tend to look at the tactics, but we don't look at the big picture, the strategy of confining it. And they eliminated that, boom, and then the first hand line went and protected the exposure. So boom, that problem now is not. And you can ask Gonzo, he's the chief. Now all of a sudden it's a very different fire problem. It's a very different fire problem. It's completely changed. And like you said, you got 1,000 gallons. These guys are running with like 650 or whatever, and that put that
500,
out.
right?
So
yeah,
this is about 650. This truck, but 1,000, you're going to really make a dent in it. You got to even using a master stream. So, but
if you're an engine chauffeur, you have to have that in your, like you said, you
gotta have that in your head, bro.
Like champ, you will look like a champ.
A brother comes to the window, and you can
exactly. Somebody, a civilian.
Yeah.
Anybody. I'm not saying you have to throw it in the window every time you pull up. I'm just saying like you have to have that because when you're the chauffeur, you can get there in 10 seconds. You open it, You're up there. It's operating.
I used to charge the car fire, the trash line in the front, that small. I used to charge. Once I got water for the guys, I would stretch that, charge it, and leave it right by my pump panel.
Yep.
I mean, unless somebody else is running a line off your rig, you're just sitting there doing nothing.
Yep.
So you might as well,
And you got it. And if something goes wrong, something that we're not expecting, you've got something to handle it right there.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
So I have no problem with that with the private dwelling, but I'm having an internal conflict right now. Can we go back to slide 25?
Most certainly.
We have an internal conflict here. Hold on.
Let's get that resolved.
Yeah, because I couldn't let it go by without some clarification. So Gonzo, and this is not, I'm not pointing at you, but
oh yes, you are.
Like you said, when it's through the roof, you go into an exterior operation, correct?
Yeah, unless obviously if there's a life hazard or something like that,
Okay.
then obviously life safety
so
is a
my
priority.
question is, so on this type of building, when it's a multiple dwelling like this, or townhouse where exposure 2 is connected, maybe 3 is connected, and 4 is connected, I don't have a problem with the exterior through the roof, but we're still going to put our troops in 2 and 3 and 4 with hooks to at least make holes to see if that fire is starting to spread. And if we have any indication, we're going to be calling for lines on the interior to pull those ceilings and stop that fire from spreading. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be depending on the building construction. Remember the concrete structures that they're not really going to go anywhere. They may not spread that much further. Yes, it could, but depending on the firewall where the building or how it's laid out. Yeah,
Right,
we may try to take a defensive stamp and keep it contained to that corner, so to speak, but not put anybody in that area.
Right. But like I said, any experience I've ever had with the garden apartment fire, like I said, it's not one unit and then fire stopping. It goes by, like I said, by square footage. You could have 3 or 4 units in that 7,500 square feet or that 10,000 square feet. So if the fire gets up in that attic or cockloft, whichever, if it's peaked or flat, and now it's going to start spreading horizontally. So, to me, you still got to treat it like you would an old cockloft fire. You got to get people in the adjoining buildings or units and see what's going on there. If you got to bring an attic ladder or whatever, you got to poke a little hole. You got to take your glove off and stick your hand up there. You seeing any red, any smoke, because to me, I have a problem if it's just exterior. We're pushing water, we're trying to put this out. And in the meantime, fire is getting into the exposure 2 and 4 and maybe 3, if they're mirrored. So.
Yes, I mean, of course, it's a tactical decision to be made on seeing what you're presented with. I don't want to say completely no, but they if you remember several months ago, City of Miami had that it was an old building, historic building that caught fire, was up on the roof. They went defensive, and it started, I want to say, on the second floor of a 3-story building. They drowned it with tower ladders. So depending on where they have the access, where they're going to take that risk, risk a lot to save a lot, whole kind of thing. It's not out of the question, basically, is what I should say. Depending on what you're presented on scene, but for the most part, when you got fired through the roof, like we talked about before in other episodes, where you may not be putting people in harm's way unnecessarily, unless there's a life hazard.
I'm just a dopey fireman, but like I said, being on the panel here, I couldn't let that slide go and just say, "Oh, I'm good with an exterior attack here," because. Like I said,
just put it in the window, bro. Put it in the window.
There you go.
There's got to be other things going on here.
Do the transitional attack.
We raise our right hand and say we protect life and
property. That's a new shirt.
Take the boat away. Take the boat away from Hank.
And then put it on the bottom. Bye, senior dude. Hit it hard from the yard, baby.
There you go.
Yeah, bullshit.
Bullshit.
Go to 27.
All right, 27. Sorry, let me go back.
Yeah, that's okay. No problem.
There you go.
All right, this is a beautiful row of condos in my town. Anyway, these are senior citizens housing. Okay, so built on a slab, dead end street. This is taken from the dead end, looking back at the entrance. Right. All right, next slide. Okay, this was them under construction. So this is the end at the opposite end of what we just saw. These are the entrances. And this is the inside. So parallel wood light truss, parallel cord wood line truss. But same kind of firewall, exactly the same as what we saw earlier. Okay. And I just want to point out something. Just go back to that previous slide.
I looked a little more professionally done.
Yeah.
I was going to say, nice and clean.
And probably a lot less expensive too. But I just want to point something out. Perfectly legal in the code where I live. All right, you see on the picture on the right, up on top, you see those yellow lines.
Yeah, going through the wall.
Pipes. You know what those are?
Are those gas pipes?
Yep.
Plastic.
That's legal. PEX, yeah, whatever it's called,
PEX.
right?
Yeah, PEX is a new copper.
This is a senior citizens complex.
Yeah.
Okay,
shit explodes.
Yeah, I'm just saying, what could possibly go wrong, right? So anyway, this is why when these things are going up,
possibly go wrong.
Yeah,
nothing.
Yeah.
I smell gas. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
They're all
Grandma,
anyways. Don't worry
Grandma, go back to sleep.
Go back to sleep. You're hallucinating.
Yeah.
It's the captain. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I wouldn't let anything.
Not to mention, like if you go back to Edgewater and even this could be the whole building could be sprinkled. But you know what they don't sprinkle? All those plenums.
Yeah.
The fire, it looks like Edgewater where it started. If it starts in a plenum, it's got a pretty good head start because it could be running one side to the other before it even shows itself.
Yep.
And the PEX could be melting as it's gas fed. So until they start sprinkling those dead spaces, which is never going to happen.
Yeah, and I think the engineers thought that the architects thought that sprinkling the buildings would be the solution, and it certainly is a big improvement because statistically most of the fires are going to be handled by the sprinkler system if it's operating correctly and it's in service. But this still creates a problem no matter whether it's the fire burns into these spaces or the fire starts in these spaces. It's a huge problem because now it's very hard for any fire department to get ahead of it, until it just goes to whatever the end of the compartmentation is. That's it until it gets to the firewalls, and then it's it'll burn until it gets there. So,
hey Cap, what have you had any fires or heard of any fires where the fire reached these pipes and and then it was turned into a gas fed thing? Like how does that work?
I don't think they've had anything in this development. It's well maintained except for EMS runs, obviously. So don't even get in there that often. But we did get a full walkthrough when it was built 20 25 years ago. But again, it's still there. It's still an active facility. It's sleeping.
Leave it sleep. Let it sleep.
Yep. And hopefully nobody has a problem with it, But
hey, Gons, is that something that you guys? I mean, you guys are dealing with plastic gas lines?
Well, now it's everything that they are running now is plastic. We have natural gas that comes through the city, and some 6-inch pipes they drop them down to a 2-inch.
All the gas lines in the street are plastic now, Rolf.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's
even
all,
the mains, even the big mains are plastic, up to 8-inch, I believe.
We were running gas lines like crazy because they're widening roads and doing all that shit.
I'm just saying, like, if you had a fire and the fire got in there and it melted that, now you got a gas fed fire. You know what I mean?
What about if you hook in the ceilings?
And you pull it out.
Part of the 360 is for us is to hit utilities, and that's part of it. So if we see gas, whatever it is, everything's getting shut off.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, but I'm saying if the fire's going, you're not. That's not your first. You got 3 people showing up to a fire. Gas is probably not the. Send 2 guys down to the basement to take care of the gas.
That only leaves us one.
The driver or the chauffeur will go take care of it.
We'll be right there, lady. We just gotta go shut the gas.
That jet plane over there. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. Okay, next slide. I just wanted to show what was out there, at least what I was aware of. Yeah, this is another development. Again, man, that's exactly what we were doing here. I was tooling a towel at her around here with a student, and wide open, right? Looks great, no problem.
Not at night.
Not at night.
Not at night. Spots are all taken, man. You ain't getting close to it. You've got
I didn't pick
every
that
one
up.
of those spots. Yeah, every one of those spots is taken at night.
Good point.
Yeah, and this is an interesting set of buildings, whereas they have firewalls. They go up the interior, and they are on the They stop at the underside of the roof boards, and they were pretty well installed. But I don't know if anybody has had any experience with fire-resistive plywood. They all over the top of these things. They all have fire-resistive plywood, over the firewall. You know what that stuff is like when it gets when it gets old? It gets very brittle. You can actually, we had one of our guys step through it.
Step through it? Oh my goodness gracious!
Through it. Didn't go through it. He stepped into it, and it, his foot
Caved in
went
a
in.
little?
Yeah, and it wasn't really burning underneath him, So that was a long time ago, but still, there's all sorts of hazards out there that I'm sure there's plenty that I don't know about, but these are the ones that I can pass along.
Sons of bitches are trying to get us. Trying to
Yeah.
get us. It's like playing
I'm
mousetrap.
gonna try to move through a few of these and get through it. Just keep going. Those were old legacy
That's
buildings.
nice.
Very, very well built.
Big water, baby.
All right, and this is what we're talking. This is one of my favorite slides because it shows that deck gun evolution that we saw early and we talked about, plus flanking the other side or somewhere else with a portable master stream, which is very popular today. One or two guys can get this thing into operation. It's not like years ago, even a multiversal that they currently use today, or the Stang like we used when I got on the job. The thing was a monster. It was a beautiful deck gun, but it was like it was super heavy. It was like 100 and something pounds taking it off the rig.
The Blitzfire, I was going to say that the Blitzfire or the Blitz line we have them purposely set up for that type of quick operation.
Yeah, exactly. One 3-inch line feeding it, and you're flowing 500 gallons a minute. So that's a significant amount of water. And there's a lot you can do with it. There's a lot of different scenarios and a lot of different buildings. This is a video. I couldn't get it to play because I sent this to you as a PDF. But there's a great video. This is it online. It shows if you Google on YouTube, or if you go on YouTube and you search for a fire department deck gun or master stream, this will generally pop up. And they knocked this fire on the left down in like 30 seconds with tank water. The hydrant's maybe 50 feet away, and they get water, and then they never run out of water. It's a very well timed operation. I think they got lucky, but they also did a very good job, in my opinion, knocking down an impressive amount of fire very fast. So next slide. All right, next one. All right, good. Same thing here. Now this is kind of what we were talking about before.
You see the staggered roof.
Yeah, you got an issue when the Chiefs got the line. No offense.
He's getting ready to do the T word. He's getting ready to hit the T, hitting hard in the yard here.
That looks like it. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting ready.
We all have the. We all talk about these are legacy apartments. I don't know if they're trusts or not. I would tend to think maybe not, but anyway. There's a point where you got to make a decision, right? Whether it's a room and contents fire or a structural fire. Mm-hmm. And, I think this I would give a shot. This is definitely one I would take. But that we also have a saying that there's no routine fires, which is absolutely true, right? You can get hurt.
Similar.
Anyway. But I am going to make a statement, which probably a lot of people will not agree with.
Mm-mm.
If there is a ground ball in firefighting, this is it.
What do you mean? Those three guys that are fucking around with that ladder on the right side?
One guy's spraying the hose line. He's falling on the ground over there.
Already vented.
There's no ball involved. All involved is taking that hose line and bringing it up a flight of stairs, turning around, and putting the front room out, or two rooms, depending on what it is. Probably one room. But again, one room in whether it's a private dwelling or a building like this, and you're there in a timely fashion, that should be if your department is going to struggle with this, you got a lot of work to do. This should be pretty straightforward.
Does that say Coral Springs on his check?
Whoa. That's actually me on the hose line, bro. I'm getting in there.
Listen, they're addressing the exposure. They got portable ladders going up, and they got the first hand line ready to go. I don't know what happens after this. I mean, this is all I have.
What happened?
This is very, in my opinion, this is very manageable.
Yeah,
Mr. George.
Mr. George, no. How much did you pay for the new guy? No good. Too much.
Wow.
Holy shit.
San Francisco, I'm guessing?
You should be thinking about giving a ladder class, ladder placement and ladder throwing. Besides putting a line in the building.
We do that.
Yep. No, absolutely. I mean, as far as, the technique and all that, I'm kind of like not going there on that last picture.
For
but
the
it's just-
aerial guys watching, which way are you rolling in with the rig to get a good
Yeah.
setup? Let's think about that.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Because of the
listen-
hills, I'm going by the incline.
oh yeah, yeah. Hey, how about throwing portable ladders on that
That too,
on
yeah.
that hill?
It's like this.
You know, I mean, what they do out west on those in San Francisco is they have a wedge, or it's almost like a little mini step chalk.
Right.
And
Tied to the bottom.
I attended a training by an officer from San Francisco many years ago, and he was talking about that. And it was very informative because in my area, we don't have much of that. And even in New York, certain areas have quite a bit of it, but a lot of areas,
the Bronx,
you know,
North
it's-
Bronx.
you throw a ladder, it's pretty much on close to level ground. But there are areas of the country that is a big, that every fire they go to is like that, you know?
Yeah, that would be
So-
annoying.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's already tough doing that, going up 3 flights or something, you know,
Yeah.
like
Somebody comes by, kicks the chalk out when you're on a ladder.
fixing his
Whoopsie.
mask. That guy. It's always going to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I just want to be clear. I'm not advocating. I don't like seeing deck guns and tower ladders, you know, used on private dwellings. You know, I mean, I think, you know, you've declared it a loss before you even started. But there are times, like we just mentioned, that should not be the routine. You know, the routine should be, as we said in the first slide, is a properly placed hand line, you know, generally through the front door. And that's how we're going to handle the majority of these. But occasionally you get these structures, and they're larger than a private dwelling, you know, that require different tactics. And again, that's why we have a toolbox, you know, that's why we have all these tactics and all this equipment, you know, and you got to know when to use what, you know.
100%. So master streams, which we have, right? So just
Yeah.
you keep going.
Yeah, just you got to get out and practice with this stuff, like the guys were talking earlier, and just know how to be proficient, you know. So,
Like, this is going to bother me.
yeah, that's why I put it there. So
That's getting on loose nerves.
This is like really. This is
That would've
truly
been
far
worse
from
if there was
the
15 guys on the roof. It would be worse.
That would be the only thing that could be worse. No
15
windows
guys on the
taken,
roof,
and
no
6
glass
guys on the
taken.
roof, and a guy with a master stream in the parking lot. That guy.
Yep.
Not in the parking lot. He's like 20 feet away, too, in the parking lot.
Yeah, he's actually simulating rain.
Yeah,
He's misting.
the roof is going to do exactly what it was designed to do, as I think Chief Dunn said. You know, it's going to keep the water out. Except
That's
unless you
great.
can
That
get-
was great,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, but that's again, I put that picture in there just for conversation that, you know, we discuss it, and it's one of those things where different things happen in different areas of the country, even within the same department, even within the same company. We've all rolled out without the A team. We've all rolled out, you know, with the B or the C team, and you know, things aren't pretty. Every company I know has had a bad day.
Of course,
Everyone.
it happens, man.
So-
It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what you want to try to eliminate the possibility of that as much as possible. You want to try to have your people trained as much as possible. I mean, you know, and I think, like, when you see things, you know, not to get off the subject, but when you see things like in New York where a probie makes a roof rope rescue, you're training your guys pretty good if somebody can do that. Somebody can come out of probie school and make a roof rope rescue. You're doing something.
That was
right.
a nice look for the FDNY, man, that day.
Yeah.
You ain't lying.
Yeah.
So again, same thing, you know, pouring in from the outside, but in this case, this is an extensive fire. But again, you know, I think ideally we want to be in there with a hand line. You can't tell enough from a picture like this as to what's going on, how long it took, what the resources were on scene. But again, you know, generally, if we can, we want to do an aggressive interior attack. And then once we go to a defensive operation, you want to do kind of what you see these guys here doing, is protecting the exposure. And basically, we've given up the fire building at that point.
Basically, yeah.
Procaccini said he rolled out with the Z team.
Yeah.
Is he the leader of the Z team? That's what I
I wonder what they were
know.
thinking.
I know in other areas of the country, right? It's A shift, B shift, C shift, right?
shift.
We're all down here. We have
Oh,
the
my
3 shift.
God, yeah.
And there's always one of them is always screwing up or something, you know. And the other
Yeah.
guys are always,
Yeah.
It's interesting. But again, when a structure, but going back, generally we want to try to, at least in my opinion, try to make an aggressive interior attack when it's warranted, when it's needed. But again, there are going to be times where you got to go to big water, where we got to go defensive, where we got to get. And this is a training issue also, is being able to use your equipment. We don't flow water as master. We don't flow master streams very often. And I've seen where departments have not been too quick to get water out of the end of that thing. There's a bunch of them online. There's one.
It's amazing what you can find online. Actually,
it's not good.
It's amazing that guys actually post some of the shit that they post.
I know.
What kills me with some of the master streams, especially with the aerial devices, is that it's fully extended as high as up they can get it. Not even anywhere close near the fire. So by the time it gets to the fire, it's broken and it dehydrates.
I don't understand that. It's not really that hard. Put the thing in the window.
Get it as close as you can, man. Come on.
Exactly. But it is what it is. But like I said,
that mess up the paint on the tip of the aerial.
Very expensive.
God forbid. But again, limited access. You got to take the spot that you can get. Be aggressive. Like Louis, you had great chauffeurs in 103. One of the best companies I ever saw as far as getting an aggressive position, getting a spot where you go, wow, I can't believe they got that there. And I mean, all of the companies that I worked in, as far as ladder companies, the chauffeurs were all very good at that. So that doesn't happen sitting in the Barco lounge, all right? You got to get out. You got to spot your rigs. You got to get off. You got to set them up, and you got to do it repetitively over and over again till you get very comfortable and very proficient. And
the scrub area.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to know. I mean, you see some guys put these things into spots, and you go, wow. Yeah. How the heck did he get it there?
What was the job up in the Bronx where they lost all those people, right? We were talking about some of those guys back in spots. I mean, incredible spots, right? That was one of the jobs.
Which you normally don't see guys do with a rear mount, but when you're trying to maximize the height, the closer you can get the turntable to the building, the higher you're going to reach.
Incredible job.
I remember Dennis Conway one day with 111, so it's only a 75-foot ladder, at a project we used to go to, not a low project, but it was like 7 or 8 stories.
Yeah, 8 stories.
He put the thing in the entranceway. You could hardly get by to get in and out of the entrance. He put the jack down through the doorway, through the front doorway of the building, and set it up and got this guy who was about to jump.
Wow.
Never would have thought to do that.
There.
I mean, a tower ladder on the sidewalk, directly in front of the entrance, jack down through the front door, and got this guy.
That's impressive.
I heard a story. 103. We had projects that were like, you had to walk down like 10 steps. Then there was a little platform, then 10 steps right into the back of the projects, right? And they had, initially the rig was outside, right? They wouldn't ever have the rig there. They take the ladders, but they get a report that there's somebody hanging out the window. The chauffeur goes down the steps with the rig, takes out the railing, which ends up pulling everything out, the exhaust from underneath the truck, gets it in position, and gets the guy out of the thing. And then, but the rig, they had to get like a tow truck to get it up out of the. But
I'm pretty sure I was at that fire. I was in rescue too.
Is that right?
We all came out of the building and we were like, "Holy shit! I didn't think a fire truck could do that."
Probably didn't go over well, but
Saved
no,
life,
he got it right up to the building. I mean, in a place that I wouldn't even have thought to
never
put it.
get. Yeah.
So, but that's got guys that know their stuff. I mean, it's as simple as that. They're gonna be able to pull that off.
Guys, if that happened today, if somebody did that with one of your rigs, what would happen? Like legitly, I'm asking. Like, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. To make creating damage to make a rescue or something like that.
Yes, but to make a rescue.
To make a rescue, I don't think there'd be any problems. You had to do what you had to do. But if somebody was carelessly, obviously, it's a whole nother story. Just if you just did it to do it, then there's a problem.
Oh, then Gonzo takes out the red pen and look
at
me.
I'm looking the other way. I'm like, I don't see nothing. I'm out.
Osprey. What?
Steve was catching all that grief because he told the guy to put the aerial through the window to vent the roof,
the cock loft.
Right, he was venting through the interior to vent the cock loft. And guys were jumping all over them. Oh, they got
they couldn't get to the cockloft for this building. And my brother told the 128 truck, take your aerial and plunge it through the cockloft. Poke some holes in the cockloft, and they could spray water in it, and they put the fire out. But they, oh my God, guys were up in arms, ruined a perfectly good ladder. You gotta change over the rig. I'm like, are you guys fucking kidding me?
That's customary for you guys.
It's a tool, baby.
Look at Hank's face.
He's just go ahead and say it, Hank. What do you got? Say it. You know you're itching to say something.
Come on, make it like before. You couldn't let it go. I couldn't let it go.
Couldn't let it go.
We'll go back to it if we have to.
Well, you know where you don't put an aerial ladder or a tower ladder on the sidewalk, or the outriggers on the sidewalk?
No.
Yeah, when there's a
Manhattan.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because half the basements go under the sidewalk, and half of them in the old days had the deadlights to put light down in the basement. You know, so it might be tarred over now or something, but all it is glass deadlights. And if you put your outrigger or you try to drive on it, you're going to end up with your rig leaning into the building and your sliders through the side.
Hank just dropped a little nugget. Hank just dropped a little information nugget.
Hello, Mr. George. How much you pay for the new guy?
$20? No, too much.
No, too much.
And it's in other places too. I mean,
I'm just glad that the internet worked there, because I'm still hearing only half of what Dennis says.
I'm like, Hank's awfully quiet, man. I don't know what's going on here.
I was gonna start sign language, but
you know what? I should put my hand up every time that I can't hear you. I'm sitting here frustrated.
We'll do this for Ariel. Look, this is the Aerial.
Torment the
Jack. When I get the
wine.
So my internet will be much better when I move to Marco
Island. Okay.
I can't wait to stay over that house.
Because I tell you, tonight's been very frustrating because of my internet.
That's all right. We still love you. We just thought you were in a little quiet mood tonight. That's all. Don't worry.
A little quiet mood.
Not really.
We only have about, I think, 6 or 7 slides.
That looks good.
Well, it's just it's a good picture of showing the space limitations in a parking lot. Again, think of this if it was at night and everybody's home, right? And your apparatus placement, trying to maximize your truck positioning, and then getting effective, getting the line stretched, getting the truck placed, getting ladders up, all the tasks that we normally have to perform. It's a little limited now. It's it can get constrained. And that last slide, the same thing was you're just going to have to be able to be flexible in how you get your spots. So
a good chauffeur is worth his weight in gold. If you're an
always has been,
the unsung hero. I mean, you get the guy in there making the grabs, but you get the chauffeur.
Look at the setback here.
Yeah, and we all see everybody's got some like this, right? Where there is no spot. It's either put it on the lawn, beach it, or
beach it.
Yeah, or
and that's going to happen. That's
and if I did that, what would be right under the rig would be like a sump or something. An old
that's cool or some shit.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly.
The torment drop smell like shit.
Beach it.
Beach it.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right, they're going in. They got the line.
Good shirt. That's a good shirt.
As my friend Bobby Graber used to say, Jethro from 214, the knob is the job. That's it.
The knob is the job, baby.
Whoa, that sounds like another shirt.
You got to have the knob. You got to be working that day.
You got to if you do that, you got to put his name on it, Jethro. That's all.
Jethro, the knob is the job.
Knob is the job.
Jethro says the knob is the job.
Knob is the job. Exactly.
Struck gold, that is.
Yeah, this is a building under construction.
Yeah.
But again, we had Hank talked about a while ago about the hazards of this, and we both worked in construction safety, fire safety for a while after we retired. And these buildings are built to burn. Be very careful with these because none of the fire protection systems are in. The compartmentation very often isn't complete, and they're a lumberyard. There's a ton of fuel. You get a windy night like something like this, forget it. You couldn't get out of there fast enough.
Conflagration. Whatever I can say. I always say that wrong, but anyway.
I might not be a brain surgeon, but I think these guys are pointing the wrong direction. The fire's the other way, isn't it?
Yeah. Nothing to see back there. We need to worry about what's across the street and now.
Well, at least they got.
Hey, is that a Dunkin' Donuts over there? Somebody pick me up.
At least they got porta potties in front in case they got to go. It looks like it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, they're going to need it.
Looking for the exit. Who said that?
Tom Brennan used to have a saying, like when things really went bad and we lost a whole block or something, he used to say, "Thank God for streets."
Yeah,
because they're a natural fire break. But, or you know what? If we hadn't shown up, if we had never come here, the outcome would have been exactly the same.
It just would have happened faster.
Yeah.
It would have happened faster. Is exactly right.
So again, this is occupied.
Wow,
that's Edgewater and that. I don't remember. I got to look back my notes.
That's a long night.
Like the sun's coming up.
That's a couple of days. That's get relieved and somebody else comes in.
Yeah.
Cafecitos, espresso, and regular coffee.
Look, the sun's coming up over the buildings.
Where's the Red Cross truck?
Yeah, exactly.
And okay, cert.
Yeah, and
that's funny.
It's a Podium building we were talking about before.
Yeah,
so just be aware. It's a lumberyard. I'm looking at this one going up.
And I have one. You have them in the residential side too, from what you see. So just a little both there.
Hey, just another little nugget, before we get too far or we end. Don't assume that all garden apartments are built on slabs, because I've had some older garden apartment fires where they've had a partial basement. There'll be cement stairs going down a little well, and there's a door, and it might be a room that's 30 by 30. Where they store everything for the building and maintenance. And we've actually had a fire in there, and you could be, they're calling for smoke in the, for the first floor apartment on the other side. So you could get fooled thinking, well, there's no basement here. If you're getting smoke on that first floor level and it looks like it's coming from the floor, you got to make sure you do a full perimeter search there, because you might find a partial basement in some of those older, and it could be in a newer one too. I've only had them in the older ones. So,
yeah, me too. Same
this
thing.
This is an old video. I've seen this video. The guy gets
this is from Texas.
I was going to play it, but I don't want to get copyrighted because I could pull it up. But
don't even bother. Great fire, nice job with the fire department getting their aerial into place. This construction work, I don't know if you see it on the right hand side.
He's on the right here on the balcony.
Yeah, on the balcony. He was on the balcony above and lowered himself down and swung in. He probably could walk. He probably, if it looks like there's no fire on that floor, he probably could walk to the staircase and walk out of this thing at this point.
Yeah, he was so panic stricken. You saw it in the video from the beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Can you imagine?
No.
And
I'm out on this swinging underneath.
You ain't out when your ass is burning, bro, and that fire's looking at your ass.
You ain't lying. All of these.
Hey, Dennis, where were the construction site fire safety managers for this one?
There is no such thing.
There is no such
thing.
They don't have them in Texas.
The only reason we had a job was because of those guys at the Deutsche Bank fire.
That's right.
God rest their souls.
Well, it takes a tragedy. That's right.
Yep.
It takes a tragedy.
Wow, look at those handsome guys.
Man. Look
What
at
happened to those
the
guys?
darkness of that wig.
Yeah.
Look at that ute. There's a lot of ute going on.
Man. He was using Just for Men back then. Just for me.
Wow, I feel like I'm back in 1998, starting all over again.
That's exactly it.
Some good
That's when we
memories
took our
there.
first pictures in front of the rig, right?
Man.
That's the picture from the rig.
How important they would be.
Good-looking devils, huh?
Yeah.
Hey, weren't you supposed to do a commercial or something?
Yeah, Gonzo's got to do it now while I take a whiz.
And did you want to talk anything about this really quick or no?
No. We discussed it once before. We could spend quite a bit of time on this, so it's just. But anyway, construction. Yeah. This is 2014. I think the CDC and NIOSH came out with this, and it's an eye opener. I think I talked about it before, but the one thing to be aware of is that this legacy construction at the top holds up very well. You can see the collapse times are on the right. But the one that really jumps off the page is this one here, 12-inch wood eye joist. Right, because
Floor without ceiling.
for a long time we didn't know how that was going to behave. There had been a lot of non-scientific studies. LA did one, a couple other departments did it, and it got different numbers. But this is the same, methodology for doing the study. But the one to look at really is the wood eye joists, like we looked at before with the penetrations for the plumbing, and they fail a lot quicker than I would have thought. So with nothing protecting them, no sheetrock protecting them, and being exposed to fire as it starts, the number that these guys got was 6 minutes and 3 seconds.
Look at the lath plaster. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, look at just the line below it. You take the same thing with a ceiling, with a gypsum ceiling under it.
20 minutes.
It goes up to 26. It goes 20 minutes up. So, it's something to be aware of. We have a whole bunch in my town that are new private dwellings.
Right.
That
is everybody aware what the OSB is?
Oriented. Yeah, go ahead.
It's oriented strand board. It's basically engineered wood. It's all little wood chips that are glued together. And again, when they're not under a fire load, it's great and it saves people a lot of money. But once you put them under a fire load,
they weaken
quickly. Look at some of those collapse times.
Yeah.
Do they really?
The web birds. So anyway, but that's it, guys. That's enough for one night.
All right.
We got to play a commercial before we forget.
Yeah.
Cap, thank you very much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
We're going to bore them with a commercial first, though.
In honor of Hank, you.
Yes. Sorry about my internet, but whatever.
Hank, you were wonderful. The best line. They're looking for the exit.
You were the quietest you've ever been.
Roll that commercial.
All right, here we go.
2 minutes.
We'll hear from Armor Tough. You want me to do the whole thing?
Use your discretion.
Okay.
Need a new floor for your fire station? Choose an Armor Tough interlocking flooring system to cover your aging, stained, cracked concrete or epoxy floor. Armor Tough has been around for nearly 20 years and has proven to be the best choice in renovating your station's floors, covering nearly 600 floors across the country. Proudly made in America, Armor Tough comes with a lifetime warranty and are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, with virtually no disruption in your station's operation. Our system is guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. Damage one tile, lift and replace without anyone knowing. And once installed, your floor would be easy to clean with just soap and water. Is your current floor slippery? Eliminate the slip with Armor Tough.
You asked me what the friction coefficient is, Professor Gubler? Well, here it is. Fiddleflap! Poppycock Fiddleflap! The friction coefficient.
I'm such an idiot. I really am.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm an idiot.
They're going to play you on that one. You're fired.
All right, here we go. Round 2.
The First Responders Center for Excellence is a not-for-profit organization dedicated to protecting the lives and livelihoods of first responders. Their education and research initiatives aim to bring greater awareness and understanding to the challenges to the health, safety, and well-being of firefighters, EMS personnel, and other first responders, too. They are an affiliate of the National Fallen Firefighter Foundation.
And here's one of my favorite old-school health and safety tips. Physical fitness is critical for ensuring the safety and effectiveness of firefighters. Maintaining a healthy weight is important to prevent obesity-related health issues. So work out, Gonzo. Will you, for crying out loud? Put down the jelly donut. And what was that?
A little gun.
All right, so we're going to go back to 2 shows eventually, maybe. We'll see what happens a week. We have on next Thursday, right, Roof? We have the Wallbounds fire. And we have actually a husband and wife who both their fathers passed away at the Wallbounds fire, and then they met, and then they wound up getting married. We'll have Jay Jonas on to tell the story, and they'll tell their story too. So
yes,
looking forward to that one. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thanks again, Captain, my captain, and senior dude.
No old school tip of the day, huh?
You want one? Throw one out there.
With you guys.
What do you mean? You have one handy.
I did, but I just, you know me, something just popped into my head.
Gons, could we please give it to him?
I don't need the music.
No, you need the music. Give him the music.
Oh, not that one. That was, we were getting down and dirty with that one. Okay, it's time for, here we go, baby. The old school tip of the day. All right. Hank, you want a solo? You want us to bring you?
Yes, give him the solo. Give him the whole thing.
I don't need a solo.
Yes, you do.
Here we go.
Right.
Kid.
A lot of times we have tips for all the young firefighters out there. This one is for all you senior dudes that are out there. Since I've retired, I've had the pleasure to visit many different firehouses, mostly along the East Coast, but in other parts of the country. And what I have found is that the young crop of firefighters that are out there are just as good and enthusiastic as when we were the young bucks on the job. They're sponges. They want to learn. There's fortunately, there's not as much fire duty out there as there used to be. But there's still plenty of fires, and all it takes is one to kill you. So as us senior men, I take it as a great responsibility. These young firefighters they're just itching to hear your experience and your stories as long as there's teaching points in there. And we have to take that seriously. Even you're retired, whatever, visit your local firehouse. You'll be surprised. They want, they'll welcome you with open arms. And don't be afraid to make friends with them. And they're going to want to hear your stories and how you did things and tactics. And then in turn, they'll get to speak to you a little bit about maybe the difference in the masks and stuff. The key is we're talking about the job and putting the phones down and getting, like we said, get into the job, not on the job. And that's it. Have a good evening. Stay safe.
Hey, Ruffy, how lucky are we to have this guy as our captain and this senior man? We're blessed. And now we get to have him on the show, too.
Yeah, with the shitty internet, but whatever.
Well, that's on you, bro. I can't help you there. You know what I'm saying?
I'm still waiting for the check from Getting Salty to get my good stuff. But don't worry, I got it taken care of.
You got sent one, didn't you?
What?
What are you kidding?
What? I'm not kidding you.
He's like, what are you kidding?
I'm telling you.
First off, I don't need it.
I'll call you tomorrow.
I don't need it. Honestly, I have to apologize to everybody, especially Dennis, because I'm his wingman when we do these. I'm like the color commentator. And tonight I would hear the first two lines of whatever he said, the first two words, and then the last two.
That's what you heard?
And I'm like, and if you'll see it in my face. I'm sitting there like, what did he just say?
I thought he was just getting close to your bedtime. You were getting a little cranky or something. I don't know.
But it's been a pleasure. So,
and we'll have you on again and again and again.
Not until I get the new internet when I move, because I'm not going through this again.
I ain't going through this stuff anymore.
All
right, Cap. Thank you again very much. Appreciate your time.
Yes.
Senior dude, thank you very much.
Gonzo, I love when you turn into the chief. He can go from jackass Gonzo to serious chief Gonzo. I love that.
You dick.
I tried.
You mean hit it hard from the yard, Gonzo? You mean that?
Oh, that guy. Right. Yep. Yeah.
Almost put senior dude out. Yeah. He almost put him out into an aneurysm. Man. I don't know what the hell happened.
You mean Coral Springs will put the fire out and mow the lawn in your backyard at the same time?
Yes, we will. That's for sure. Tuck you in a bed at night, too.
All right.
Who told you to put the bomb on?
We'll see you on Thursday, Cap. Hank.
All right. Good night, everybody. Stay safe.
Stay low and go.
That's
right. All right, guys. Good night. In addition to Rolling Heavy,
we staying on
all the way. What? No, we're going to stay.
Wait, what was that one?
Federal Q all the way.
Federal Q all the way. I'm not gonna have to make one up for him, bro. He
can't. No. I'll find one that'll
get it hard from the yard. That's what it is.
No, I don't like that one. That's been around too long. That can't be mine.
Yeah. All right.
All right, guys. Good night.